Yeah.
So to me, the new landscape is, so first of all, let's talk about some of the NAR stuff, right? Let's get it out. It's been,
it's just taken effect, right? Tomorrow, 17th is the D-Day.
So I'm Ryan Reilly from Columbus, Ohio. Been in real estate now going on 22 years. Number one in my market. We are on pace to close over 400 homes this year, and that's me.
Love it. Mike Odo, been in business for over 25 years as well. The reason why you should listen to me is because I'm friends with guys like him.
Well said. Market in Columbus, Ohio at 9 a.m. today, they started removing the compensation from the MLS. That started at 9 a.m. today.
Yeah.
The conversation's been going on, at least kind of real, let's say seriously within our team, close to 6 months now.
Right.
My beliefs are, number one, I don't agree with the attack on our industry. I think, that how we were portrayed and the things that have been said and done in the media and this and that are not true.
Right.
So being in the game almost 23 years now, I firmly believe that what we do is extremely important for the consumer. We save people from making huge mistakes and buying the biggest asset that 99% of the world will ever acquire is real estate in their home.
Largest purchase for most people in their lives by far.
Now, with that being said, I believe that the new landscape is gonna make us level up as real estate agents. I'm actually excited about the change, especially for our team and being around people like you, Mike, and stuff that I've been taught. A lot of these things that are changing in the way that the DOJ wants us to do business and behave, if you will, we've been doing as a team for many years.
Yeah, that's how I ran my entire company. Like, it was always buyer's agency agreements. They would come in, they would sign up, we would take them out, we would show them houses. And that was the minimum requisite. In a resort market especially, because you get a lot of guys that just want to impress their girlfriend, go look at high-end houses.
Yep.
Yeah, so we would always make them sign up to a buyer's agency agreement.
Yep, same as us. There's always the education piece, really making sure on both sides, right, that our sellers and our buyers understood what our role was in the transaction and how we were bringing value to that transaction through a buyer's presentation, which led to both a buyer's agreement that we would have. And then, of course, what's funny is you've never listed a house. You've done real estate for years. Did you ever list a house without a listing agreement?
Absolutely not.
So why would a real estate agent represent a buyer without a clear and concise way of doing business and expectations?
My team, same thing. Like, why would you do that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think for the consumer, what's interesting is it's going to force them to have to sign a buyer's agency agreement. In the past, it was optional. Now it's not, right? And if you want to go look at a house, you have to sign this document. And the difference is, like, in the past, an agent might not ask somebody. So if somebody was adverse to it, they just go down the street and get another agent. Now that's not going to happen.
Agreed.
So I think from a consumer standpoint, there will be a little confusion at first, maybe some apprehension. Good agents who are able to communicate their value prop are going to be like, hey, here's all the reasons and the benefits of doing this. Here's a state broker disclosure form, which probably 3/4 of agents before now never handed out, even though they're supposed to, explaining the different representation. But I do think it's going to adversely affect the consumer because, number one, they never understood this process. And number two, the transparency is gone. Because, we just started posting this on the portals, right? What the compensation was, the general public could see that for the first time. And now they're all under this thought process that it was 6%. So, if you're negotiating a buyer's agreement and you're like, hey, I'm not going to pay 6%. That's okay. We're not going to ask you to. We just want 4.5%. Which in the past we might have got 3%, right? Like, there's going to be a lot of that going on, in the industry in general, I feel like. And then same with the listing side. Sellers are like, wow, I heard you guys can't charge 6% anymore. Oh, you're right. We'll do it for 5%. But then no comp to the buyer, right? That's going down. So in my opinion, in a lot of ways, especially with real crafty agents, for the consumer, the costs could go up, right? And then the other threat is people who are first-time home buyers, right? VA, like those type of people who can't afford to just roll it into the contract. Maybe they got to bring some money in closing, could adversely affect them. So from who are we helping standpoint, I can't see anybody that was really helped with this yet. Now, who knows how the future is going to shake out, right? It could have downward pressure on commissions, and that's definitely a possibility. But for the most part, for me, like when I saw that, I was like, man, this is a huge opportunity because nobody's getting away from a buyer's agency agreement, and the agent that can effectively communicate the benefits of doing business with them above everybody else in their market is going to win.
Yeah, I agree. Couldn't agree more. And I think opportunity there is a key word. The consumer himself, I don't think a lot is going to change, at least in their mindset or behavior, because they didn't understand it before, and I'm not sure that they understand it now.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, depending on who you listen to and what you read, you know, which happens a lot, unfortunately, in the United States, is the information I've read from people that I've found reputable that maybe interpreted it different or just weren't fully, you know, immersed in some of what the actual, you know, truth of what's happening is. Right.
Ryan came out and said real estate agents are no longer allowed to charge their mandatory 6%. Did you see this?
I did not see that.
I saw that. He gave a speech. He was like, we're calling on all real estate agents to lower their commission to make it more affordable. I was like, this guy doesn't even know how this works. Right? He's the president. Like, that's crazy, you know?
Very true. I mean, my parents, I think if you sat down and like I said, as long as I've been doing this and this has, you know, been since I was out of high state, what I've done my whole life, probably don't understand how I get paid.
Right. Yeah, most people don't. A lot of people thought I was getting a salary, you know, from like Remax. They'd be like, they thought I was just getting paid like that. And I was just there to serve them and I was getting an hourly wage. And,
It's amazing. I read a survey, I don't know the exact number, so I won't quote it, but they did a survey. It was about so many weeks after the closing happened. So they bought a house, did the closing, everything's done.
Yeah.
And they surveyed them to ask them, do you know how your agent was paid?
Yeah.
And it was close, I forget, it was like 80% or something, did not know.
Didn't
you know, and this was on the buy side.
Yeah.
Did not know how their agent got paid. Didn't understand the transaction. So a lot of it, and like I said, for us, it's opportunity. Right. Again, I think the agents who are professional and really articulate their value are going to make more. I think there's going to be a little bit downward pressure initially on the buy side. I think on the list side, you're going to see commissions go up.
Yeah.
Because I agree with you. I think a lot of agents will use that. Hey, we used to charge 6 apples, and now you know it's 4.5 apples, right? And
the consumer thinks they're getting a good deal,
and not understanding the full aspect of everything that's going on. On both sides, the true professional that articulates their value. Like I said, I love it because I believe on the buy side, a lot of agents, you know, were just kind of, you know, the bag of money was just sitting there. They weren't doing a whole lot, and they just, you know, they didn't have to do much to get that, right? They didn't really educate the buyer. Some of them didn't have the negotiation skills. Everything that should be in us calling ourselves professionals, right?
Yeah.
If you go to a doctor, dentist, attorney, what we would really consider true professional type of things, there's certain skills and things that you have to have, and the more skilled you are, the more you make. Right. The reality is typically a brand new attorney is not going to make it the same as somebody who's got 20 years of experience and a litigator who's doing all these things, right?
For sure.
They're getting paid for that knowledge, value, time on the job, all of those things, that expertise.
100%.
And real estate agents, whether I've been in it 20 years or you just got licensed yesterday on the buy side, we're pretty much getting paid the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, right?
That's an excellent point. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I think now that, you know, agents on both sides are going to have to negotiate directly with their client for compensation, be able to prove that is really, I think that part of it's going to be a good thing for our industry, level people up, and the people that should not necessarily be in the industry and helping people buy or sell and navigate, you know, a home purchase, that they should probably not be in our industry. There's different strategies that I think they're going to come out. Our strategy is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah. Let's talk about yours.
Yeah, for sure. So for us, strategy is very much going to be if you're the seller that I'm representing, we're going to talk about first what my services are and what I charge for those services. And then we're going to talk about just educating you on probably what's going to happen when a buyer. So my job is obviously to bring the max amount of exposure buyers who are qualified to your home. Right. A lot of the times, Mike, that's going to be other agents bringing that buyer. There's going to be times when they make an offer and we ended up transacting with them that they're going to want some type of compensation for that agent, for the agent. Now the agent's job and the way the new landscape is they're negotiating with their buyer for that fee. but there could be times when they're going to ask for you to bring compensation in the form of concessions or different things like that, that, might end up going towards their buyer's agent to pay the fee that they've agreed to on that side.
Right.
But starting out, we're going to, if somebody asks me, I'm going to say we're negotiable. Yeah. So I'm not going to give up the farm, if you will, up front. I think a lot of agents are going to get a phone call, have a conversation with you and say, yeah, we're offering 3 apples, 4 apples, whatever that conversation is.
Yeah.
And so as I represent you, my job is, what do you care about? You care about putting the most amount of money in your pocket at the end of this deal, right?
Right.
And you want the least amount of hassle doing it.
100%.
That's what I'm here to do for you. So in the way that we're going to do that is we're going to say we are open to the best offer that you can bring to my client that nets him the max amount of money. Yeah. So that offer mean that we're offering concessions as compensation? That could mean that. Could it mean that we're not? It could mean that also. Yeah. So my conversation with agents is going to be when they call and say, hey, is my seller's open to any offer that's going to net him the most amount of money and the best offer that's, for my client. Yeah. And that could be a lot of different scenarios. It might be where, the buyer's agent and the buyer have agreed to 3 apples and we end up giving them 1.5 apples. Right. And then they have to get the other 1.5 from the buyer. Yeah.
I mean, that's been happening since the beginning of this thing, right? Like I'll list a home and I'll have a commission. I'm not going to let my commission get in the way of a deal. Right. I'd rather take a little less to get us all, done at the end of the day. And I've been doing that since the beginning of this thing. So I feel like it's going to be very interesting, but fundamentally, I feel like a lot of it's not going to change a whole lot, as far as the way that the transaction works in a way that people just operate when they're buying and selling homes. I don't think that there's going to be a great deal of change. It's going to be nuance, right? Like the details of, like we were talking about, DXP, right? They're not going to pay from the seller to the buyer's broker. Right? Correct. It's going to have to come from the seller to the buyer's broker. So it doesn't run through that extra layer of another brokerage just to stem off liability from future problems that the DOJ might decide that they don't like.
And you hit the hammer on the head right there of the nail. Like what the DOJ wanted was they felt that there was collusion in the way we were doing business. I don't agree with that. But they wanted total separation from that. Yeah. So EXP's come out. Obviously, it's a company that I work for, and basically said, yes, that we, in what we believe the tone of the settlement, what the lawsuit was, is they want the agents to basically be out of the money side. They want the seller to actually distribute monies to the buyer and not even to the brokerage. Yeah. Right? Like that can happen. Those things are legal to happen. And in the settlement, it doesn't say that we cannot do that. Right. But what we believe kind of in what the tone was with all of it, that the seller can give money back to the buyer. And if the buyer chooses from those concessions to pay their buyer's agent with that is allowable.
Yeah. Because there was some confusion about that. We were having drinks and talking about it. I was like, man, that doesn't seem...
It's
broken down. That seems smart as can be, when you really understand it.
For sure. Yeah. It's going to be a change in the way that money flows in the communication, and that's it. Yeah. I tell everyone, if you're a student of understanding the real estate transaction and then really having the negotiation skills, that's who's going to win. Yeah. And for somebody like myself and our team and somebody who really, follows like you and your podcast and things that you're doing for training and education, right? They're going to understand and be a better negotiator and be able to do those things and get deals done. At the end of the day, I want to play nice on both sides because I want a transaction to close and everyone to, have a win-win at the end of the day, but I'm here to represent my client for sure. But yeah, I think it's going to be a change in flow of money. It's going to be a change in communication. And I think the best negotiators are going to get paid a premium for their service.
I agree.